Shalom, and welcome back to B'nai Noach Academy, Thoughts on the Torah. Please remember to hit the like button and to subscribe if you haven't done so yet, and most importantly, to share this wisdom and inspiration with friends and family. If you look in Exodus chapter 25, verse 32, there it discusses the construction of the menorah. The menorah is the candelabra which stood in the holies, in the temple, and they would ignite it, they would kindle it, that is, every single evening. This was spiritually to spread light to the entire world. It describes over here that it has the middle stem, the middle branch, that is, and then it has 6 branches, 3 coming out on either side. And it's in the commentary, which is the primary, the most authoritative commentary on the Torah, that is Rashi, Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki. And likewise, by the way, you can see the same reflected in the Rambam, in the Maimonides. This is in the actual halachic section of Torah. It comes out that these stems were actually slanted. They were straight stems, not like most of us are used to seeing a depiction of the menorah, it being round arms, round branches. The question is, where did this idea of a menorah having round branches, round stems coming out from either side, where did this idea come from? Well, there is actually a source for it, a real source for it, a historical source for it. Anybody who's been to Rome, or you can certainly look it up on Google, you will, one of the great major historical artifacts there, that is landmarks, I mean, is the Arch of Titus. This arch was built, that was the custom in those days, that if somebody came back from war, for the victor, in the honor of the victor, they would construct a special arch through which he and his armies, the victorious soldiers, would march. This was like a parade, like a homecoming parade. On this arch, there's a depiction of some men carrying a candelabra. And this candelabra has round branches, round arms. That perhaps is the source from which most of the world assumes that the menorah in the Holy Temple, and likewise in the tabernacle, which is discussed here, is of that nature. Well, that isn't the fact. That is actually untrue. It's true that that menorah came, that actual candelabra came from the Holy Temple at the time, the Second Temple, that is, that the Romans were able to, unfortunately, destroy, and they were able to take back with them the loot that they found there, that they confiscated, but at the same time, that was not the Holy Menorah. The explanation for it, and once you hear it, you'll see it's very logical, is that in the whole complex of the temple, obviously, they needed light. They needed to illuminate the place. The place didn't illuminate itself. Stones don't glow. So what did they do? They had various candelabras, beautiful ones, to light candles, to light big candles, in order to illuminate the hallways, the passageways, the big giant halls, and so on. Deliberately, they did not replicate, in other words, copy with 100% authenticity the actual menorah. Rather, they made something to look similar to it, something to look like kind of a replica of it, albeit not a precise one. Why? Because according to Jewish law, you're not allowed to replicate it. It's not allowed to be replicated. There's only one menorah. Just like there's only one ark, there's only one holy table in the Bet HaMikdash, in the Holy Temple, there's only one holy menorah. Therefore, the other ones, which they made the general design to be reminiscent of the Holy Menorah, it kind of has a Judaic feel to it. It has like a replicated feel to it, but they intentionally made it to be different. Thus, there could have been hundreds of them, if maybe even thousands of them, spread out throughout the entire complex, throughout the entire campus, that is, of the Holy Temple and all its various chambers. Now, before the enemies came in, it's obvious they knew, they can see, the writing on the wall. They can see the inevitable. And they quickly realized that the actual holy artifacts need to be stored away. They need to be hidden somewhere. And in fact, that's exactly what they did. When the enemies came in, they didn't know exactly what to look for. So what they took in their minds seemed to be the real deal, the real thing. So that's what they came back with. And in any case, it still has the value of loot. It definitely does. And it is an artifact in the Holy Temple, but it's not the menorah, which is described over here in the Bible, in the Torah. Now, why is it really such a big deal to make such a big thing, to make a deal out of it? In other words, why is it so important? So it's the round, so it's straight. Why is it that some have almost a deliberate and elaborate custom to depict the menorah in its accuracy, not with round stems, but rather with straight ones? Because you think about it, anytime one follows this source as the source of what the menorah may have looked like, one is actually highlighting the demise. One is actually highlighting the downfall of the Jewish people, the downfall of the Holy Temple, and almost in a sense celebrating it. It's at least giving it some reverence. And that, of course, is certainly something we don't want to do. And that's why we make it a point when depicting the Holy Menorah, the Holy Candelabra, the candelabra that's described here, to depict it in its correct manner.